Testing, testing. Hello? Hello? I just wanted to make sure I had audio because I got to redo the video I just did the other day about New York, driving in New York City, because for some reason I didn't have any audio in that video, and I apologize for that, for those of y'all that tried to watch it. So, I'm re-recording it. And I'm sitting here with my Peterbilt hat on, my sunglasses, and my headset. Besides the flip-flops, that's pretty much the starter pack for a super trucker. Super trucker! Nah, I'm just kidding. Headset ain't even on. To tell you the truth, I only use it when I'm on the phone. I'm not one of them guys that wears it all day long. But anyhow, so my first ever driving experience to New York. That was a doozy, man, I'm telling you. So as you know from my last video, if you watched it, that it was my very first driving experience in the trucking industry ever. And I was with my trainer straight out of the company I went to. And he met me at a motel in his truck, and we were getting ready to take off to go do our load. You know, he was already loaded and everything. He just swung by to pick me up. So I get in the truck. Well, first I go to get in the passenger side truck. After we get done introducing ourselves, his name was Roy, by the way. And again, if you're out there, Roy, and you remember who I am, feel free to get a hold of me, man. You're a good dude. So anyhow, I go to get in the passenger seat, and he's like, "What you doing, man?" I'm like, "I'm getting in the truck." He's like, No, you're on the wrong side, man. You get on the driver's side." He started me out driving right away. No pressure, nothing, you know. But I'm like, all right. So I get in the driver's seat, and he teaches me about the Qualcomm and everything, and you know, explains some stuff to me and all that. And I'm like, "So where we're heading to?" And he's like, "The Bronx, New York." He had like a deep southern Florida accent, because he's from Florida. I can't really mimic it, but whatever. Anyhow, Florida man, right? He wasn't that kind of Florida man. He was actually a cool dude. So anyhow, I get in there, and he's like, "We're going to the Bronx, New York." And I'm like, I immediately start sweating bullets. I'm like, "We're going to New York City on my first run?" He's like, "Yep." So I'm like, "Okay." So, I mean, I was nervous and scared, but, you know, sometimes you just gotta do it, you know what I mean? Just do it! So, anyhow, I get in the driver's seat, and we head on down the road. And I'm doing pretty good, you know. I was nervous, but, you know, I was doing real good. At least I think I was. So we get through Ohio, get through Pennsylvania, you know, get to New York. And this is in January, by the way, because I graduated in December and started in January. So it's there's a little bit of snow out and everything. We're leaving from Indianapolis, so there wasn't much snow there. So we get up to New York and stuff, and you know, there's mountains and stuff up there, or like hills and stuff like that. So we get up to New York, and I'm on this highway, and of course there's snow on the ground, but I was doing okay in it until I got to this hill. We climbed it, and then we reached the peak of it, and I pulled over and stopped because I was scared shitless, because this hill, like, I don't know what the grade percentage is, but it went down pretty steep, you know. And he's back there sleeping because he had to get his 10-hour break in. They got to sleep too. So I stop and I'm like, "Hey, Roy." He climbs out of the sleeper, jumps into, and he's like, "What, man?" I'm like, "Man, I don't think I can do this. This is a steep hill, and I'm scared to go down it pretty much." So I kind of expected him to be like, "You'll be all right, go back to sleep," But no, being the cool trainer he was, he got up, climbed in the passenger seat. It was like, "All right, man, you got this, man." He kind of calmed me down a little bit. And he was like, "Just take it slow, go 5 miles an hour if you need to. Keep it in low gear." We had an automatic, but you could switch it to manual and shift gears. But he's like, "Just keep it in low gear, creep down the hill, you'll be all right." And I'm like, "Oh man, all right." And he had to throw in there, "If you see that trailer going sideways, you're in trouble." He just had to throw that in there, man. I'm already sweating bullets, and he throws that in there. I'm like, ah! Puckering like there ain't no tomorrow. But I end up making it down the hill okay, and I built my confidence back up and everything. And but I'm still kind of sweating bullets. The closer we get to New York City, I'm starting to see the signs and stuff, because I'm thinking he's going to make me drive the whole time, But right as we're getting ready to go into New York City, I think there's a bridge or a tunnel or a couple tunnels we go under or something. And I'm bad at remembering street names and highways sometimes, because I have a bad memory, but hopefully you know what I mean. If not, whatever. And he pulls me over and he's like, "I'll take it from here." I let out a big sigh of relief, because he's like, "Yeah, you never drove before," so he was like, "I'm going to go ahead and get us through New York City, and then we'll take it from there." So we switched places, and I'm actually kind of glad he did that, because I've never been to New York City before, so I got to sit in the passenger seat and kind of observe the skyline and all the cool stuff, and kind of saw the Statue of Liberty way from a distance and everything. But I was pretty intrigued, I was fascinated by it. I've always been fascinated by a bunch of buildings and skylines. But anyhow, I noticed that when we got into the city and we're heading towards the Bronx and stuff, like his GPS cuts out. I'm like, "Oh man, what are you gonna do?" But he's been there before, so he knew where to go. He's like, "Yeah, you gotta watch it out here, because the GPS will cut out on you sometimes." I'm like, "Oh, that's great." And we get to the receiver there in the Bronx, and we pull up to the gate and go into the receiver. And they said they signed us in and everything. They're like, "Give us a few minutes, and we'll get security to come escort you to your dock." And I'm like, "Security? You need security to go to the dock?" Or they're like, "Oh yeah, man, you gotta watch it around here. There's a lot of mischievous stuff that goes on, and you can get mugged, you can get your load stolen, any number of things can happen or whatever." So I'm like, "All right." He got us back to the dock, and he docks it. He bumps the dock, and I think we only waited about an hour or two to get unloaded and stuff. And so that was pretty cool. And then we get unloaded, and I'm fully expecting for him to drive us out of there, but he looks at me and smiles, and he's like, "Your turn." I'm like, "Oh man." He's like, you gotta learn somehow. I'm like, all right, well, let's do this, I guess. So, and I'm glad he was there because the GPS was going all bonkers, and he kind of guided me out of there and everything. Because you can trip plan all you want to, but sometimes when you get into the big cities, it can be very confusing, especially New York. But most of them are confusing sometimes. But so I hop in the the driver's seat and get going and stuff, and it is so tight in there. I mean, those streets were definitely not made for big trucks, you know. I think back in the day they had 40-foot trailers and they're a lot smaller, but I started driving around there and the cornering is hell, the traffic is hell. You go to pull onto a cross street and you got to pretty much make your own way because they're not going to let you out. You have to pretty much force your way out. So all that was happening and stuff, and you know, we get through it and stuff, and there's also bridges there that will say that the clearance is like 12.9 or 13 or something like that, but they're actually tall enough for you to go under. I guess they do that because of snow and ice. They account for that or whatever. I've heard a couple different theories on it, but scared the shit out of me nonetheless. But I'm glad he was right there to you know, kind of guide me through it. And but we got to the highway and we're approaching the on-ramp, and it's like this real tight curve, and man, there's barely enough space to make it around that curve to get on that on-ramp, because like I said, they weren't built for our trucks. And he's like, you're probably gonna have to rub the trailer a little bit. I'm like, oh man, because there's a concrete wall and a guardrail. There's a concrete wall on one side and a guardrail on the other. So there's like no room. And he's like, just go really slow, and if you rub it, you rub it. You know, just go slow enough that you don't mess nothing up. So I did that, and you know, I did rub the trailer a little bit. He said there's no harm, no foul with that, because pretty much everybody does it unless you've been here 1,000 times and know exactly what to do. But the majority of the people rub it, and there's like rub marks all over the place on it. So, but we get on the bridge. I think it was the George Washington Bridge to get out of there. I can't really remember. But it was like as soon as we hit that bridge, there was immense pressure relieved. I'm like, thank goodness. Got through it, got back on the highway, and headed on down the road. And yeah, so that's my story about my first time in New York City. It was very scary, very stressful, but you know, you get through it. You know, you just gotta go slow and pay attention to what's going on, because they don't care down there. People will ride bicycles right up against your trailer and truck, and people will walk right out in front of you, and you know, they just don't care down there. Like, though, I guess they have 9 lives or something, I don't know, but you wouldn't catch me walking out in front of a truck, hell no. But anyhow, that concludes my story about driving in New York City. I hope you enjoyed it. If you learned something from it, cool. If not, then hopefully it was a pretty entertaining story for you. So yeah, that's it, and I will talk to you guys on the next one. Y'all take it easy. Peace.